welcome to another episode of Bonus XP, and today we're actually going to follow up on some Dragon Quest stuff that we didn't get to talk about in our wonderful long 2 hours, didn't cut a second. Yes, drive-by penis analysis was still in there episode. And I have Cullen and GC back with me, so welcome back, guys. I am so glad that you are here.
Hello. I'm glad to be back.
Oh, I'm the one who drove by with the penis analysis. Hello.
I literally that's gonna be in the marketing materials.
Hell yeah.
So.
I gotta get that on a shirt as fast as I can. People are gonna be stealing that one.
So one thing I want to follow up with really quickly, our listeners may not necessarily have the benefit of the length of time that has come between the first time we recorded this.
It's been a couple years.
Episode. Yeah, it's been
a couple years.
It feels like it, even though it's been like a month and a half. Because I started playing Dragon Quest VII to give it a second chance after you guys talked I guess more so Cullen.
Yeah, me guys
talked about pretty highly about it. So I'm 50 hours in. I'm rounding the ends. Yeah, thanks for that. I definitely am appreciating the little tales here and there. I still think the game is a plod.
Fair.
It's got good vignettes, but it's got a lot of vignettes.
Yes, yeah, it has a lot of them. The game really honestly could have been over at this point, and I think it would have been good. And I just don't think I think you're right about Kiefer and what he does for the narrative. I think is super important, but the rest of these characters just don't matter.
They kind of start blending into the background a little bit.
Yeah, is that kind of what you were saying, Colin? I know it was a while ago, but
I've never finished it.
Oh, but you made it as far as
I guess that's a pretty good answer to that question. Yeah. It's like, how do you feel about the characters? I don't know. How do you feel about it being plotting? I don't know. I never finished it. It's that explains
what I played wasn't plotting because I didn't get that far.
Oof. Well, I'm happy that I'm doing it. I'm trying to at least polish it off before Zelda comes out, because as of recording, Zelda's coming out this Friday, and I definitely don't want to have to look at a single other game aside from that game.
Fair enough.
So, yeah. Okay, well, I don't feel so bad about having the exact same opinion of it that I had the first time I played it, albeit that was quite some time ago. But what I really want to focus on, and this is one of the big things that we didn't get to talk about, is music and the series music. But before I did that, and this is not necessarily something that I was completely aware of, but GC, you have some inside tea from the DQ scope that I had maybe very, very briefly heard and just kind of brush it off. So would you mind spilling that hot tea for us? So we can, this is not new tea, right?
It's very outside tea.
This is very well known by if you look into it and you do your research on the people who made the game, right? If you dig, you don't have to dig deep, but you do have to do a little digging. And it is worth knowing that the series' composer Koichi Sugiyama, he is not the best person in the world. He
understatement
in his it is an understatement. In his old age, or once he in modern times, he has been hosting, or he had been hosting, a talk show, and on the talk show he would have certain guests on that show, and they would report certain things, and they would have certain opinions that weren't exactly kind to certain people. So I'll just lay it out flat. Koichi Sugiyama is on record as denying the Nanjing massacre, which is a massacre perpetrated by Japan on the city of Nanjing during, I forget if it was during a world war or not, but it was a pretty messed up occurrence. They basically committed a ton of war crimes. They killed and hurt civilians, and that's just like the surface stuff that I don't want to really like go deeper in that, but just picture in your head what could be worse than that. Yeah, that happened. So he's a known denier of that. And
so he's an American Republican. Go on.
So he's an American Republican, and he's also a noted homophobe. Not to quote, but as an example, on his show, someone was reporting certain statistics, and they said LGBTQ people in Japan have higher suicide rates than cishet people, and he started laughing. And he said that was a good thing, essentially.
Fucking
like,
yikes.
I'm paraphrasing that. Yeah. So he
Rest in piss, bozo.
Yeah. He's not a great person. And a lot of people either don't know that, or they do know that, and they try to separate artist from the art. And in my opinion, you can't really do that. That being said, like, older Dragon Quest, it's a hard thing to wrestle with. And I understand why a lot of people struggle with that, because a lot of the Dragon Quest music is iconic. A lot of the Dragon Quest music is well made, and it's sort of a complicated relationship to have with it, especially if you've been enjoying the series since you were younger.
Right, like you created that storybook metaphor of like that bedtime story comfort food.
Yeah.
When we were talking about it on the episode, and like it's hard to disassociate, because it's a part of that book. Like the music is just so much a part of that. It's a full package.
Yeah, and it's sort of a thing that people should know going into the series, in my opinion. Like, if you can tell people, you should tell people. It's like, hey, this series is great. You're going to like the music. You should know this about the composer. It's not a good look. And it's sort of, unfortunately, one of the blemishes on the series, in my opinion. It's one of the things that worsen it for me. And this is coming from a Dragon Quest guy, or the Dragon Quest guy.
Right. Colin, did you add something that you were going to add there too?
Oh no, it's just I think the thing about Sugiyama that's so quote unquote fun and interesting is that I really feel like no matter who you are, you really shouldn't like the guy or have ever liked the guy, because when he wasn't doing all that homophobic or massacre apologism or what have you, he was spending his time making sure like Americans got the worst possible versions of all the Dragon Quest sound effects.
Son of a bitch.
So even if you weren't like, even if you were the kind of,
if you're not the kind of person who's like
cares
attuned to these things or cares about
things that matter, you still have like, this man has not done anything good in the last like 20 years of his life. He has done whatever he could to make things as hard as possible for Dragon Quest fans to enjoy the games.
Isn't that just so sad when something that you love just gets shat on because of people involved in the creation of it just show their true colors? Like, it's just so discouraging and life wrecking, like it's a part of your identity, and all of a sudden you just get throat punch. It's almost worse than Final Fantasy 13. Sorry, that just, anytime I get a chance to rip on Final Fantasy 13, it happens. It's really sad. It's really sad to do that, especially like you said, you can't always separate the art from
the artist.
Like, sometimes you really do have to.
But with the great thing about Dragon Quest is that it was one person causing all the problems, and that person is now dead. So,
but we could talk about, and I don't mean to grab the show here.
Go for it.
With the passing of Koichi Sugiyama, the good thing, the silver lining of the fact that he was a part of the series, is that he has left the room open, the space open, for someone else to do the music and compose the music. And my recommendation, if you haven't already listened to it, Patrick, is go listen to the soundtrack for Dragon Quest Swords.
Dragon Quest Swords is so good.
That is composed by the person who composed at least Mega Man 2, but I think she did other Mega Man games, like the original Mega Man games. Go check that soundtrack out. That is Dragon Quest music, and you'll listen to it and go, this is identifiable as Dragon Quest music, but it's not by Sugiyama. and it's refreshing. It's interesting. Like it has like some really cool choices.
The composer's name is Manami Matsume. Just to
Manami Matsume.
Provide a name.
First of all, bitch, do you think I didn't play Dragon Quest Swords in college when it came out? 2, I will go and check it out again now that I know it's a different composer. And 3, I think that's a great and excellent segue into how we're going to wrap up our conversation, which was the other big chunk of what we didn't get to talk to. And this will hopefully be a little bit more of like a positive note after that sad Dragon Quest history is the side games and like the success with those. Obviously bringing up Dragon Quest Swords, there are more side stories to Dragon Quest than there are main entries, which is crazy.
Yep.
Colin, let's start with you. What's your experience with some of these side games?
I've mostly dabbled in the monsters games, but not too much. I in general haven't really gone too hard into the side games. I played Builders 2. That game's pretty good.
Love Builders 2.
Treasures.
Do you know the best thing about Builders 2?
What?
No Prince of Cannock.
Yes.
So the worst thing about Builders 2. Recently I took another look at Dragon Quest Joker 3 Professional because I found out that had an English patch, and that game is just like so ambitious for 3DS and blew wherever Pokemon was out of the water I don't think Pokemon caught up to how cool that game is up until like Scarlet and Violet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And it's wild that they have not made another one of those games.
Why don't you elaborate on that a little bit? Because there's a small chance that Dragon Quest Monsters was the first Dragon Quest I played. I was looking at release dates and I was like, wait, I don't think the Dragon Quest 3 and 1 and 2 came out in America until after. And I definitely didn't play Dragon Quest on NES. So I am a Dragon Quest Monsters kid for sure. I've played all the US releases, and I know this one is not a US release. So like let's talk about this little ditty that you're bringing up, because I haven't seen the one you're talking about. What makes it so better than Pokemon? Because it's a bold. There are a lot of things that are better than Pokemon, but for some people that's a bold statement.
And it's not even like better. I just think it's more ambitious, and it kind of appeals to the stuff that I like about Pokemon, where it's kind of at now, where like Joker 3 was a Japanese 3DS exclusive game, but with really big open areas to explore. The monster riding mechanics are very ambitious, and there's a lot of different monsters that have a lot of different traversal effects. You're like,
I think when you say ambitious, like are you referring to the fact that it has like this scale to
it scale a lot of scale to it. There's a lot of places you can explore. I haven't finished Professional 3, but what I played with the patched ROM is so impressive, and I really hope one day they do a modern console remaster and then just localize it, because
there's a go ahead.
No, what were you gonna say?
I was gonna say there's a long-standing tradition that a lot of the Japanese only Dragon Quest games are some of like the best ones.
Isn't that upsetting? That's so upsetting.
It is. It's really unfortunate. I think Caravan Heart is also I hear it's a pretty good one as well, and I don't think that has.
That's the Kiefer one, right?
Yeah, I was going to say that's the Kiefer one.
That's the Kiefer one.
I mean,
the Genghis one is good.
Dragon Quest Monsters OG is very like minimal in what it does, but I still think it's very successful in the way that it incorporates this like very exciting tournament. I'm actually playing it right now on an emulator, and like going back and reliving that nostalgia. Like, it's really cool to see this. You got to make it through all the pieces of the tournament to like succeed and progress the story.
They always do a tournament arc.
Yeah,
I feel like that's like one of the things about Dragon Quest Monsters that's like a constant. There's always a tournament. There's
like
always a tournament,
Joker's
and you're
one,
always
it's kind of weird and Joker 2, it's with monsters that are running it, so that's also kind of strange. I think
In Joker 2, you break into it. You stow away on a ship.
yeah, literally to go
in
there, and you kind of don't really get to see too much of it. But 8 has even has it. Like 8 has the whole monster arena, which I mean, I love that part of the game. Like that is so good. Yeah.
Monster Arena in 8 is one of the best mini games that any RPG has ever done, and I really hope they bring that back somehow.
If they bring it back, I kind of hope they don't, like, because my one thing about the Monster Arena in 8 is that because like you're not really acting directly, like it basically is like choose the right monsters to win.
Yeah.
So maybe something a bit more.
Choose the monsters with the higher base stats.
Basically. Well, choose the right selection of monsters to win, and not like it's
always like a combination.
Yeah, and I do kind of hope that if they do ever bring it back, it is maybe more active, where you actually have to make more decisions, but
choices,
or even just you could build the monsters a little better. Like maybe you get points. Points to build them out in a certain way, because you're right, like it is the one who has the highest stats and the bigger stick wins. But if you have like, you could put points into heal slime going first the swoosh tree, or you could put points for him going the heal tree, something like that to diversify, and I think it would have been perfection.
Yeah.
Speaking of build, I do want to talk about Dragon Quest Builders.
I love that game 2 so much. It is so good.
Not so much 1, but 2. 1 is fine, but it's a blueprint, and 2 takes that blueprint.
It's a blueprint.
I got him all day today. And 2 is 2 takes that blueprint and really adds some accoutrement to make it a very good, very solid sort of building crafting game. 2
was so good that I think like Type Moon poached the director.
Who's Type Moon?
The Fate series.
Oh,
if I remember correctly, yeah.
I remember he doesn't work on the series anymore, which is probably why we're not going to get another one.
No,
unfortunately. But Builders 2 is super good. I love a lot of the RPG mechanics that come back in Builders 2, where they sort of like get you to build a certain amount of things, and that gives you rewards, and you can level up. And when you level up, you earn new abilities alongside your buddy, whose name I forget, Malroth. I think it's Malroth.
Yeah.
And I think it's really impressive how like much the industry respects Builders 2, because if you look at, I think it's called Minecraft Legends. If you look at Minecraft Legends, okay, if you look at Minecraft Legends and you look at the trailer for Minecraft Legends, you go, this looks really similar to Builders 2. And I think it's interesting that Builders took inspiration from Minecraft, and then Minecraft took inspiration from a very successful building crafting game to make its own version of that. And I really, 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 really dig that phenomenon.
There's something special about the way that Dragon Quest successfully pivots its core into other like genres of gaming.
It's so malleable.
Yeah, it really is, and it does it so much more successfully than a lot of other games do it. Like I think it does it really well in what are they called? Sheeran games?
Sheeran the Wanderer?
Yeah, like
Mystery Dungeons.
Yeah,
there you go, Mystery Dungeons. And it does it really good as Musou games. Like Dragon Quest Heroes is one of the only Heroes games that I will play, and it's not just because it's Dragon Quest, but it's done well. The way they kind of like intersperse the narrative with the action and the familiarity, I think it really just caters itself really well, where I don't think you could see something like that from some of your other RPGs like Final Fantasy. And this is kind of getting into what we talked about on that episode, where Dragon Quest has this consistent identity. You see something Dragon Quest, you know it's Dragon Quest, and you see how they want to spin that, where you see some of these other genres and you don't quite recognize it, or these other series, you don't quite recognize it because they've changed so drastically over the years.
I start to wonder if maybe because all of these Dragon Quest games also still have the Armor Project label associated with them. I have to wonder if that's Armor Projects, which is Yuji Hoри's development studio, case anybody doesn't know. I wonder if that's part of their quality control.
I think
When you
so.
make a Dragon Quest game, like it has to go through Armor Project, and not necessarily Yuji Horii himself, but it has to like, you have to adapt. I would imagine it's very similar. Like Dragon Quest Heroes reminds me a lot of Hyrule Warriors. To stick to the Zelda subplot that we have on this podcast, I guess, where it every element of that game is based off a different mechanic from the original or the mainline series. Like every mechanic in Hyrule Warriors and Dragon Quest Heroes is based off a mechanic from The Legend of Zelda and Dragon Quest respectively. Where even like Heroes even has like mini metal stuff, and Heroes has like treasure maps from Dragon Quest 9, and you can equip your characters with armor and stuff like that, and like the whole thing is built to remind you of Dragon Quest. To be a Dragon Quest game, they just slapped a different genre into it. And like I gotta imagine that's partly because Armor Project is like, this has to be Dragon Quest before it's anything else. Like you're not adapting our license into this. We're adapting your game into our brand.
Well, I was going to say, I don't know if it just stops there, though, because continuing with that Zelda subplot, I think Dragon Quest Zelda-ish game is Rocket Slime. I think that's the only one in that series, because I think there are 3 of them that released in the US. And here's another example of a game that was trying something new, very unique. You'd see what type of game it was referencing, but it was still Dragon Quest as well. So I like, maybe you're right. Maybe it is they like put full trust in other developers to be like, okay, build this like this, but also please make it exactly what it needs to be. Like it still needs to be at the core a Dragon Quest game.
There's a precision to it that I feel is not something you see from other spin-off titles in other like series. Like I'm not going to tell you Yakuza Dead Souls is like 1-to-1 a Yakuza game, or that you couldn't take the Yakuza out of it and put a different franchise in and lose like a lot from that process.
I think the only franchise I've ever successfully seen integrate into multiple different genres is Persona, where you have like the Etrian Persona games,
dancing
games,
and you have dancing, and then you have they have their own Muso Strikers. Yeah, like so I think it's the same kind of thing where you have this like series that has such a huge identity, and then it's kind of like this first then you, and it, like I think that was a really good way to say it.
And to kind of add on a little bit, I to kind of jump off of someone GC said, I think if you like actually look at his games, like Yuji Horii is kind of involved in most of these spin-off games, and I think that is one of the reasons why it is so like the core identity is still so kept well together, because he actually feels the need to get involved in all of these projects and make sure they are like up to his standards in a way. And you don't really see that often. Like even in the Persona spin-off games, they kind of just toss those over to like someone else. Like, and I like the Persona spin-off games, but in most instances, when you make your spin-off games, you don't typically necessarily keep someone on the core team there, especially not like the head guy. So I think that is one of the reasons why Dragon Quest has such a consistent identity across all of the different games spin off our main.
Is there? It's him.
He's him.
You Jesus.
You Jesus. Oh my god, that's incredible. You want to wrap up with gushing about swords a little bit, because I think of all of the side entries that might be
I have actually never played Swords.
I have not finished it.
I got a copy of it right here.
Why are you not streaming that?
Yeah, for real, GC.
Because I'd have to plug my Wii in.
Does it emulate well? Do you know?
I might.
That might actually be really fun to play with the mouse.
Ew! I don't want to play with the mouse.
Oh no, Wii mode is that much better.
It would make me believe.
Play it on a trackpad.
Exactly.
I guess my desktop does have Bluetooth functionality, so maybe I can like get the Wii remote to work on PC. I hear you can do that.
Oh, well, that just breaks my heart knowing that you haven't played.
It's the one that I own that I haven't touched. Like I've touched everything else in this series, spin-off and all. Oh, and Rocket Slime. I haven't touched Rocket Slime either.
No, but I have not played a lot of Rocket Slime. I heard that 3DS one, the last one they made, was really good. Once again, Japan exclusive.
Did not get it,
but it got a fan patch, so.
I was looking at a list of the Dragon Quest games, and I knew there were a bunch that we didn't get, but I didn't realize like how grand that list is and how much it hurts.
It's really big.
Yeah, like we didn't get the entirety of the like the Mario Party game, right? We didn't get any of those.
We didn't get we didn't get what is it? Itadaki Street?
Yeah.
It's Itadaki Street. We didn't get the Torneko Mystery Dungeon games. We didn't get Dragon Quest X, and we're not getting Dragon Quest X offline version.
Not yet.
Which is
hopefully we'll get it.
Yeah, not yet. Maybe we might get it, but I don't really have a lot of hope. But you know, we don't get a lot of Dragon Quest games, and I lament that fact. I really wish. I guess maybe if 12 does the numbers that 11 did, hopefully we'll get to see more of those Japanese only releases come over to the States in some capacity.
Apparently the expansions for 10 offline have started to come out. So maybe they're just waiting for all of them to be done and then localize all at once. I hope.
It would be wonderful. I mean, I think they know, especially with 11's success, that there is a huge demand for it in the West. And I mean, like, we've been craving these games for a long time now.
Yeah.
So.
They also know because people have been getting banned for playing Dragon Quest X from the States.
I've seen that. I literally just watched a video by someone who's on one of our episodes where he talked about how to do it. And I mean, like, it's not worth getting banned. So one last thing I want to talk about right before we go, and I think this will be really quick. So obviously I know we don't have official E3's gone, but we do tend to see a lot of releases in the summer, release announcements. Do you think we'll see Dragon Quest 3 HD2D or any news about Dragon Quest 12?
I think it's about time for HD2D. I don't know where it's gone. Because the thing with Dragon Quest 12, we haven't seen anything about it besides the logo, so I think that's still a bit off. But for HD2D, yeah, that better come out soon.
It's nonsensical that it hasn't come out yet. And I'm wondering if like Square Enix really just likes to stagger their releases a lot.
I imagine they're still working on it, but we've gotten, I think, like 2 HD 2D very ambitious RPGs announced and released in the time that 3 has been announced. I think. Oh wait, no, 3. Because we got Triangle Strategy, Live Alive, and then Octopath.
Yeah,
maybe not Triangle Strategy. That might have been announced before, but at least 2. And Octopath 2 is huge.
Yeah, that's a big
Octopath 2 makes me realize, like, okay, yeah, this engine is now ready for Dragon Quest.
I'll make a prediction. I'll say over the summer, I guess Summer Games Fest now.
Yeah.
Or whatever presentations, whenever they hold their conferences, they're all going to do it at the same time.
Right.
E3 doesn't exist, but they're all going to do their conferences at the same time, and they're all going to coordinate because, you know, that's just good for business, whatever. I think we won't see anything about Dragon Quest HD 2D unless it's a release date announcement. And we will get one sentence from Yuji Horii about Dragon Quest 12 where he goes, "We're working on it. I hope you like it when it comes out." And then he does a little bow, and that's all we're going to get.
I think it's Yuji Horii thing that could possibly happen.
I think
Yes.
it's possible we could hear something about 10 offline localized
Maybe.
this year. I think it maybe they just needed the time to localize it because that game is huge and there's so many
Mhm.
expansions being packed into it.
I also don't think Dragon Quest Treasures did fantastically. So I
Oh.
think as far as on the Dragon Quest end of things, I think they might feel pressure to release some information about stuff they got coming up just to rebolster people's
Mhm.
interest because Treasures did not sell well.
It's a
if I
kid's
understand
game.
right.
You can't let your whole fan base isn't going to be excited about a kid's game. You know, like
Yeah.
it's a watered down filler entry.
It's very casual, like it's very, not surface level, but like it's very light.
Yeah.
It's very light on its complexities, and it's more of like a little adventure game just to have fun with. So, a lot of people didn't buy it.
All right, GC, Cullen, I want to thank you guys for coming on again. I really hope at some point in the future I get to work with you both. I guess I got to find out what your interests are aside from Dragon Quest, though. So you let me know. But it has been a pleasure.
Been a pleasure to
Of
be here.
course. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for being here on your
I'm still
podcast.
hosting.
What? Me? No. Thank you all for listening, and I want to thank especially our patrons for supporting us and making this possible. We really appreciate you all. If you like listening to us, make sure you sound off on our Instagram or our Twitter, or hop on over at our Discord at RPGaymer. Starting to get a little heated in conversations over there. We got a good group going on. Once again, thank you all for listening. Now go out there and get gaming.